Hello and welcome to Gaze Reading. I am your host, Jason Blitman, and you clicked on the episode, so you know this is the Rosie O'Donnell episode. Y'all, I'm freaking out. I was freaking out. Anyone who's listened to the show before knows that I have talked about Rosie O'Donnell over and over and over again. And if you are listening to this simply because you're a Rosie fan and you've never listened to Gaze Reading before, welcome. And I hope you enjoyed this conversation with her. But this is a big day. It's a big day for Gaze Reading. Thank you everyone for your support and cheering on along the way. I have mentioned her name on so many episodes, in particular with Lindsay Rush, the poet. We had a moment on the show where we talked about our dreams and fantasies, and one of hers was that Michelle Pfeiffer got a hold of her book. And so Lindsay and I were in touch this morning because I was so excited to tell her that I finally had Rosie on the show, and I've decided this is now the time that Michelle Pfeiffer is gonna finally read her book. And so Lindsay coined the term manifesting. We are manifesting because it is May. And so I hope all of you get whatever it is that you are manifesting this month. As always, if you like what you're hearing, share us with your friends. Follow us on social media at Gaze Reading. I have very few words when I saw that Rosie O'Donnell was producing a documentary for Hulu. I thought, what a great opportunity to check in with her and learn about that. I had the pleasure of watching Unleashing Hope, the Power of Service Dogs for Children with Autism, which is streaming on Hulu now. So here you go. All I want is to get Rosie O'Donnell on this podcast. I would rush home to watch Rosie O'Donnell. I saw the video clips on Instagram of my girl, Rosie O'Donnell. You feel like you're allowed to love Tom Cruise because of the cosign from Oprah. And I felt like I was allowed to love him because of the cosign from Rosie O'Donnell.
Is there like a league of their own category of gays that I don't know about?
I don't know. Maybe it's just Rosie O'Donnell.
We need to find your drunk cousin.
I would call myself Dollar Store Rosie O'Donnell. And now I am just ecstatic to say, please enjoy my conversation with Rosie O'Donnell. Okay, I am going to put my podcaster hat on in a second.
Go ahead.
But first, I have to put my 8-year-old gay kid hat on.
Okay.
So this is Gaze Reading. Welcome to Gaze Reading.
Yes.
On every third episode of the show, your name comes up.
Right? No kidding.
If you listen to the first 6 seconds of the first episode, your name comes up.
Really? Honey, that's so sweet.
Well, I talk about how I want one of those little buttons to push.
Digicard.
I said every time I say Gaze Reading, I want to hear bum, 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 the intro of the Gypsy Overture, just like Rosie O'Donnell had every time she said Tom Cruise's name.
Right. Tommy, can you hear me?
Exactly. Before we dive in, I just have to say you are my Barbara, my Tom, and my Merv rolled into one.
Honey.
And you were my babysitter when I was a kid. And you were my introduction to Broadway shows. I've worked in theater my whole life. And I've been estranged from my dad for 5 years. He was born in 1959 and grew up in Comac, New York.
What's his name?
His name is Mike Blitman. I'm sure you don't know him.
Did he go to my high school? Because I'm born in 1962.
I know. This is why I told you. No, but they moved to Florida when he was like 14 or 15, so he didn't make it to high school. But he lived at 11 Doreen Lane, I learned.
11 Doreen Lane?
Dorian.
Oh, Dorian, because I lived in the name streets. I lived on Rhonda Lane, and there was Donna Lane and Rita Crescent. I thought there was a Doreen in there. That would have been funny.
Dorian. I think it was like around the corner, but not down the street. Yeah,
that is so wild. I want to tell you the truth. When gay men and women come over to me and tell me this, I can't explain what it feels like because when you're doing that show at a time when speaking about being gay was really unheard of. Nobody was out at the time, right?
Yeah.
Ellen was not out. I remember while I was doing my show, she said she was going to come out. I was like, oh my God, what is she doing? You know, yes, Elton John can be out or Katie Lang, they're rock and roll singers,
Right.
but could a talk show host it didn't seem possible.
Right. You're in someone's living room every day.
Yes. And I remember seeing, they told me there was going to be a new show on with a gay man and his best friend who was a straight woman, and it was going to be called Will and Grace. And I thought that'll never last because you don't remember, but there was a show, Love Sydney, with Tony Randall. And it was only on for a few episodes because there was a photograph of a man above the fireplace that obviously had died, who they were inferring was his partner. And all he did was look up at him one episode and, you know, and the church went crazy.
Wow.
And I went to mass that day and there was all kinds of protests and they took it off the air. So I didn't grow up dreaming that it would be possible to have a show that would reach out and touch so many gay kids' lives.
Yeah.
And it really makes me feel as though my life has been of value. So I want to thank you for saying that to me.
Thank you. I mean, truly, you changed my life. You saved my life. When I Googled the Rosie O'Donnell show today just to see what Google said about you.
Right.
And apparently the Wikipedia summation it says, in a nutshell, fascinating, fun, and joyous.
Oh.
And I was like, I didn't even realize, but that is the core of what I do here. That's my goal. That's what I do. I want to have fun and have really interesting and thoughtful conversations. So anyway, I just needed to say all of that.
Well, thank you, honey. Thank you so much.
Now
let me ask you one thing. Why are you not
course.
talking to your dad? Is it a gay, because you're gay?
It is not a gay thing.
Oh, okay.
No,
Then
it
you
is
don't have
not.
to care. I
It
just
is
want-
it is a last election thing.
Oh, honey.
Yeah.
That's almost just as hard.
I got the gay thing was never a problem.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Astonishing.
There's
Anyway.
a wonderful documentary, Fox News Brainwashed My Father. Have you ever seen it?
Did I write that documentary?
No, but it's out there and you
Oh
can
my God.
see it and look it up and watch it. And you will
Yeah.
feel comforted by the fact that you're not alone.
Oh yeah.
That
No, I
this
mean
propaganda network
yeah.
that has convinced our elderly parents that we love and enjoy that their version of lies are true. And it's very tragic. And when you think that 30% of the population voted for him, now I always say half, and it's not half, as my shrink reminds me.
No.
30% did not vote. 30% voted against him, and 30% voted for him. That's not a mandate, Donald.
No.
That's not a landslide. And if we don't stop him now, there's no stopping him, and that's the end of democracy.
And so here we are,
Yes.
making change.
Yes.
Speaking of documentaries,
Yeah.
I was not a reader until about 6 or 7 years ago. And so
No kidding.
a sentence I never thought I would say is, I have Rosie O'Donnell on my book podcast talking to me about a documentary she produced
Right.
about service dogs. This
Yeah.
is, and as Caroline can tell you, I sent her an angry email in quotation marks that I didn't know it was going to make me cry so much.
Yes. It's very, very moving. And it's very uplifting. And I think, kids with autism are being maligned by Robert Kennedy Jr. Please put the junior in there, everyone, because he doesn't deserve to have that name without junior attached, reminding us that he's nothing like his father. And, what he's saying is ridiculous. It's conspiracy theories. There's no scientific fact. He has no medical degree. He has no right to be saying the lies. But it's perfect that he's in the Trump administration, which only and always lies.
Yeah.
Only and always. And, I wanted to put out a documentary that would show autism in the light that it is in my world, and show the truth and the hard and the difficult parts as well, and to show a therapy that actually works for children, that actually helps serve inmates and prisoners as they train these dogs for up to 2 years and give them away to families like mine who need the service.
Yeah.
And it was life-changing for our family. And I really wanted to help people know that this was a possibility and that it's free.
Yeah. I mean,
It's free.
It's crazy. I mean, and who would have thought the empathy we would have had at the end of the doc for the inmates who are serving
Yes.
life sentences.
Yes. They're
You
human
know,
beings,
right,
and, one should not be defined by the worst moment of their life and not
right.
be able to escape it. And one thing that really got to me when I was in the prison and I met the dogs and I met the prisoners, and I said to this guy, "How many dogs have you trained?" And he said, 12. And I said, "Oh, knowing that that takes 2 years, that's 24 years. He probably did manslaughter. He's getting out soon." So I said, "You must be going home soon." And he said, "No, ma'am, I'm here life without."
Yeah.
And it about broke my heart because isn't that the most appropriate name? Not life without the possibility of life without pretty much everything, without
Hmm.
hope, without dignity, without decency, without compassion, without forgiveness from the world and from everyone. And there was no way to redeem yourself if you had life without, if the rest of your life you were destined to stay there.
Yeah.
And
Well, and it's amazing though that you learned about this program from your correspondence with Lyle Menendez, and that it's been going on as long as it has been, as you just said.
yes,
This one person has been working with dogs for 24 years.
right.
What was even just learning about that like for you?
Well, it was mind blowing because I had a child diagnosed with autism at 2, who
Hmm.
was at the time 9. And at 9 years old, they went through menstruation and they started with a lot of hormones withdrawing, withdrawing into themselves and not wanting to go out and not wanting to talk to anyone but me, and
Hmm.
yet not wanting to really talk to me, just wanting me to be there. So I spent every weekend alone trying to get them out of their room to come down and hang with me. And,
Yeah.
they were really focused on their one need, like how in Rain Man, Judge Wapner, right? That's what they were doing with object shows, right?
Hmm.
Battle for Dream Island and Inanimate Insanity. They would memorize every episode of these object shows it's a digital program, a digital series on YouTube that had been
Mm.
created in 2010 and they just found a few years ago, and
Wow.
try to get some t-shirts and stuff from a show that's been on for that long. It wasn't so easy, but I ended up meeting the creators and they're wonderful guys. They've come to our house. They've invited us to perform on the program, and Clay and I each voiced a character.
Oh my God, how cool.
Yeah, really.
They must have freaked out.
Oh my God. It was like, I've never seen them so happy as
Yeah.
as that moment when they called and said, "Listen, would you guys like to do it?" Because they're taking voiceover lessons. She wants to
What?
be a voiceover artist and has always wanted to be, but does not want to be an actress in any
Uh-huh.
way.
Uh-huh.
They
Wow.
also have a thing called echolalia. Are you familiar with that?
No.
It's where you have almost a tape recorder in your head, and if you hear anything audio-wise, you're able to recall it, memorize it, and play it back in the voice that it was projected.
Wow.
So, this is a quick story, but this is true. There was a boy who was calling her names at school, calling her psycho, and I went up to the mother at a party and said, "Your boy is calling my kid psycho. Why is—"
Mm.
And she said, "Because your kid tells very scary stories." And I'm like, "Oh, really? Like what?" She says, "Where's Waldo?" I'm like, "Where's Waldo is scaring your kid?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Okay, let me get to the bottom of this." So I go home. I say, "Honey, do you know story Where's Waldo?" "Yeah," they say. I go, "Would you tell me it?" She goes, "Yeah." "It was a dark and dreary night." Yeah, she sounds like Vincent Price reciting this thing that she memorized, and it was terrifying, and that's
Yeah.
echolalia. That is echolalia.
Wow.
She
Wow.
can do they can do any accent, they can do any dialect, and they can
Wow.
deliver any dialogue.
And they were not talking about the search and find books of the man with the striped shirt.
Well, actually, it was about him, but it was like a horror version of that. Like, "Who's behind you? Where's Waldo?
Oh,
Who's
that's so funny.
behind you?" It was a little scary. But
Poor
actually,
kid at school.
their response was, "Half the kids like it, half the kids don't. I'll
Hey
take
man.
odds,"
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. You say in the documentary that it's been being among the autism community has just been an amazing experience. And it made me think about the LGBT community just in terms of, feeling othered and needing to
Yeah.
find your people. And what has that experience been like for you?
Well, it was very overwhelming because unlike, the gay community, where if you're an adult, you can go advocate for yourself. If you're a child with autism, you need adults to advocate for you, right? And I am the adult that advocates for them.
Yeah.
I am almost the interpreter for how the world with nuances and subtlety kind of functions in a way that their very bright, very different brain is able to process. And to know other families were going through what I was going through provided so much hope for me and compassion and desire to never give up and to keep doing what I was doing in order to shepherd them, through their life and help them have a productive, valuable relationships and valuable life experiences that everyone who's a human being deserves.
Yeah.
And, I think my experience with the gay community really helped me in terms of how I could help the autism community. When I realized what an amazing gift this dog was to our family, I went back and said, I need to help people know about this. And who are the other celebrities who have gotten these dogs? And they said, you're the first.
Wow.
And I was like, I'm the first? They said, yeah. And this has been, Guide Dogs of America has been around for many, many years. I thought
Right.
it would. And I said, okay, then I'm going to make a documentary. And they're like, well, we don't know how to do that. I go, well, I know how to do that. I don't know how to train autism dogs. You know how to do that. But why don't you let me do what I know how to do, and we'll see what we can together, what we can accomplish.
Well, and also, you're not just producing it, which I think was my first thought. You are front and center, making sure that voices are getting heard, and I think that's
Yes.
very cool.
Well, it was really important that we find another family besides my own. I didn't want to make it just about one kid because
Caleb,
I know.
Caleb,
We just talk about Caleb, how amazing that child is.
I'm obsessed with Caleb.
What about his brother
Ugh.
saying that he's worried about him? I was sobbing my eyes out when I first saw the rough cut of that.
I know.
And
I told you I was mad. I didn't know I was going to cry as much as I did.
know it's a very emotional.
Yes.
Yeah, we pack a lot into 42 minutes.
Yes.
We really do. Zeb, the director, did a great job, and I'm very pleased with it. I'm very happy that people are responding the way they have, and I'm mostly happy that their calls have increased 1,000% for families with autism from all over the country.
Yeah.
People say, well, I don't live in California. I'm like, you don't have to live in California. They will fly to you. They will fly you and your family here. They will pay for your whole cost of staying here. It won't cost you a penny to have this service. And we're saving a lot of kids with this doc.
Yeah. Unleashing Hope.
Yes.
I mean, talk about a title.
That's a good title.
Caleb. I can't stop thinking about Caleb. This is not a gotcha question because I am the exact same person as you. But once upon a time, you said you're not a dog lover, you're a dog liker.
Yes.
And that was me too. Has that changed at all for you?
100%. Because I was one of those people who, even though I had dogs, like I wouldn't, like my friends, I remember like this one friend of mine, Michiel, I would say to her, you want to go to the movies? And she'd go, I can't go to dinner and the movie because I have to get home to my dog. I'm like, what a loser of life. How could you, listen, I liked them. I liked them. I did not like them. I had them, but I wasn't madly in love with a dog until we got Kuma.
Yeah.
And it changed my whole perception. It used to be, I wouldn't even see dogs. Like I was walking down the street with my friend Lori, who is a dog freak. And there would be a woman pushing a carriage with a dog. And Lori would go, oh my God. And I would go, oh my God. And she'd be looking at the dog and I'd be looking at the baby. Right? Because if you put a baby in front of me, I am powerless, right?
I know.
Like kryptonite in the best way for me.
Yeah.
I'm weak in the knees and I'll do anything, you know? And
So
this dog,
meanwhile, here I am thinking, why is the dog in the stroller?
No. It was a baby in the stroller. And I'm like, oh, dear God, if I could just hold that baby. And she's thinking,
So sweet.
I want to touch that dog, you know?
Right.
And, And so now it's completely changed. I
Yes.
understand it. And I look at that dog and I have gratitude every single day that we have
Yeah.
this dog, that we got that specific dog, that
Yeah.
he seems to know not only for Clay, but for everyone who comes in the house who's in need of some attention and love.
Yeah.
Really, they
So
train
incredible.
up emotionally on people's feelings in a
Yeah.
way that's almost magical.
I'm obsessed.
Mm.
Um, I have to transition to talking to you about some books
Okay,
because
go.
I so obviously we're very much talking about your documentary here, and I love that I could segue into talking to a little bit about your career because so many things you've done are based on books,
Yes,
like
Lee.
Harriet the Spy.
My favorite books as a kid, and then to get to play Golly was unbelievable to me, and I loved doing it, and it was a wonderful book that gave me solace and hope as a kid, and I loved getting to bring that character to life.
Did you see the queer codedness when you were a kid?
I
Or did
don't
you even realize?
in Harriet the Spy?
Yes.
Well, I would see it in noticing, like, Christy McNichol was like me on Family. I would notice, like, oh, whoever, like Tatum O'Neal. Oh, she's beautiful. I bet you that, she's like me too. But I didn't know what way they were like me, but I knew Harriet was like me,
Interesting.
right? In some
Yeah.
ways. And the way she dressed and her curiosity and
Uh-huh.
wanting to figure things out, So I don't know if I associated it with gay. I just associated it with kind of like a tomboy vibe, which
Sure,
is
sure,
what I
sure.
always had.
Well, I had never read it, and I have had multiple guests on the show who have brought it up as like a queer coded thing that they recognize as a young
Ah,
person. One of those people being Gregory Maguire, who wrote Wicked,
wow.
and I, of course, talking about Harry the Spy led me to talking about you. And I mentioned you being a dream guest of mine, and he was like, "If you ever have her on the show, tell her I say hello." And
Well,
then, and then
he
he started talking about the time when the two of you went to go see Wicked together and then spent
yes.
act two at the bar across the street.
Yes, exactly. Well, I had only seen it 42 times,
right. Right. Well, he said we both had seen it so many times. So it
and
was
I just
okay that
wanted to
we,
talk to him. I wanted to go, "How did you imagine this? How
yeah.
did you imagine all of these wonderful themes, like the animals being silenced and tyranny and freedom and
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was an epically genius metaphor. And God, I loved the show and I loved the movie. And
Yeah. Right. How good.
it was beautifully done. And I was so blown away by it. Absolutely blown away. I brought Clay and Clay said it's way too long. That was
Fair.
their only comment.
Totally fair. It's a long first
The
movie.
long first movie.
Yeah. If I didn't have to pay for rights and if it wasn't 9 o'clock in the morning in California, I would say let's do a little duet.
I would do it. I know any song. You can test me.
Oh, I don't need to test you. Don't you worry. Hilariously, my first introduction to you was actually the 1994 Grease cast recording.
Of course. Look at
And
me, Sandra D.
if I had that, what was that little bit? If I
Digicart.
had the digicart for you, it would be you saying, "What the hell is that?"
Yeah. What the hell is that?
Which,
We're
which is of course the beginning of the Grease Lightning reprise.
Yes. You know that my son, Blake, when he was about 18, he's 25 now, he said, I was over at Joe's and he put on this movie and you were like a teenager and you talked like Sylvester Stallone. And what the hell was that movie? I go, Blake, that's my most famous movie. You've never seen it? He's like, no, I couldn't believe it. What were you, 18 when you did that? I'm like, I was 30. I was 30. No.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Yeah, they didn't really watch my movies or even, still to this day, I'll be doing something and I'll go, "Did you watch?" They're like, "No, we fell asleep." They don't really care, my kids. And
Keeping it real. Keeping it real.
feel exactly.
And of course, something you've done based on lots of books.
Yes.
Seussical the musical.
Yes. Come on. The
Come
cat.
on.
Oh, the thinks you can think. Oh, the thinks you can think.
It's been long enough that I could tell you I've seen that bootleg of you doing it many times. I had it on VHS.
I love the bootlegs. I know that everyone says you shouldn't. As soon as I see one, or I have my friend Bobby Pierce, Tony-nominated costume designer.
Who, Listen, this is a little bit of a touchy subject, but did community theater in childhood with Cindy Pierce.
Wow, I know her. That's so wild.
I know.
Well, he knows
Anyway.
he knows how to get the bootlegs. He'll call me and he'll go, I got Nicole Schlesinger in Sunset. You want it? I'm like, yes, I do. It's like
yes, I live far away now. I need to see it.
Exactly. Most people like want to do, nefarious things like, on the sly. I want to get copies of Broadway shows I haven't seen. I'm dying to see Death Becomes Her. The worst thing, or the only bad thing I can think about having moved to Ireland, the only negative part is that I miss Broadway.
Yeah.
Of course I miss my big kids and my friends, but I really miss Broadway. And like the Tony nominations were announced and I was like, God, I haven't seen so many,
Yeah.
Normally.
The kids and the friends you could talk to on the phone.
Yes.
The Broadway shows you can't.
You can't.
My husband and I moved from New York during COVID, and I feel you. My fantasy episode of Gaze Reading was the two of us talking for an hour about this.
Oh my God, come on.
The Barbra Streisand book.
Please tell me you listened on audio.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, okay. Everyone
of course.
says I only read it. I'm like, listen to me. Do you know what you're missing? Do you understand? To hear her own voice for all those hours. It was like so many hours that I didn't want it to end. I knew many of the stories beforehand because I'm, a crazy fan.
Mm-hmm.
5 seconds away from calling the police. Thank God she was nice to me because, I never overuse the closeness and the contact that I had with her. And people say, do you talk to her? I'm like, no, what are you making a call? Hi, Barbara. Every year I send her flowers on April 24th with a beautiful note about how much she means to me. And she sends me something back. And it's beautiful. But I couldn't have become her friend because it's still very overwhelming to me that I actually know her.
Yeah. I love that. That's so special.
Yeah.
I mean, I sort of feel that way right now. Not gonna lie.
Come on.
The way you were talking about, I've watched your episode with her so many times about having diarrhea for days leading up to her.
Yes.
Thank God I only booked this a week ago.
Oh,
Otherwise.
Had I known, I would have come on years ago. How long have you been doing this?
2 years.
2 years. You love it?
Yes, it's very special. I've gotten to talk to so many fabulous people. I mean, I've had Margaret Cho. I just had Debbie Millman. I've had Roxanne Gay. I've had Gregory Maguire. So many fabulous people.
What book was it 6 years ago that turned you into reading? What book?
The real thing was Call Me By Your Name.
Oh, okay.
Because I'd seen the movie.
Yes.
And I was working for a company where I got the sequel in advance of the book. And I'd never read the first one. So I was like, you know what? Let me read the first one. And it just drew me in a way that really surprised me.
Right.
And I was so glad to have the new one ahead of time.
Yes.
Because I always felt like I couldn't keep up with books.
Got it. Now, what about Tales of the City? Did you miss all Tales of the City?
So, yes and no. I've since watched the whole series. I've read some of the books. I've had Armistead on the show.
Oh, who's great.
It's very special. So no, I've since become a voracious reader. I mean, you've written books. Are you a big reader these days?
Yes, I love reading.
What are you reading?
Did you hear My Mammy Died? It's by an Irish writer who was one of 12 or 14 kids, and his mother died when he was little, and 2 different people gave me the book. And when 2 people give me the same book, I think it's a sign from God. Normally, when I have a new book, I put it on the pile of things I have to read. So this one was already in my pile, and someone else gave it to me, and I'm like, take that.
Move to the top.
Yes, I'm halfway through it. It's very touching. It's very poignant. It's very emotional for me, But what a great movie or play this would be. What a great show. I have many ideas, and one of the friends of mine who gave it to me knows him. And I said, when I finish the book, could you take us? I'll pay. We'll go to dinner so I can talk to him about my idea of how to make this into a show,
That's been something very special doing this, reading things and then being able to talk to the folks and just say like, hey, there's a there there. There's something going on.
There's something there. Yes.
Highly recommend a book called The Many Lives of Mama Love.
Okay.
I'll DM it to you.
Okay.
It was also an Oprah book club pick. So it's Jason recommended and Oprah recommended.
The Many Lives of Mama Love.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the premise? Just in
premise is suburban soccer mom turned drug addict and local thief put in prison for a year comes out, sober, ghostwriter, literary agent, changes her life.
True
And now,
story?
true
Memoir?
story, memoir.
I read a lot of memoirs, so
Yeah.
I would love to read that. I'm gonna go get
I
that.
feel like that one's up your alley.
Yeah, I usually get the Oprah Book Club ones.
Yeah, that's why I slipped her name in there.
Yeah, of course,
She's
you got it.
familiar,
You know,
right?
like the book Queen, right?
Yeah, seriously, I
Yeah.
know.
Anything she touched went right to the top, you know?
Fiddler on the Roof was based on a book.
Yes.
Everything you've done based on
Oh, this
literature.
much is true. Wally Lamb, one of my favorite authors ever. You ever read any Wally Lamb?
He just came out with a new book yesterday. I read that a few months ago. It's a hard read because it involves a kid dying, FYI, but
Right.
it's beautiful.
Have you ever read She's Come Undone?
No,
Read that one.
I've
Wally Lamb
heard.
book about a very obese girl.
He's so
And
good.
He's so good. And I got to meet him and hang out with him when we did the miniseries with Mark Ruffalo.
Mhm.
And that was a thrilling part. Well, I love when I meet the authors that I can't get enough of. Like I used to stand in line to get Anne Rice to sign my first edition copies. And then when I had my show to get to book her and have her on, or Fannie Flagg, who I love the way she writes. I love all of her books. To get to have them and sit and pick their brain, you know. I love authors. I love great authors, and I'm very moved by the written word.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And are you going to write another book anytime soon? You have a lot of new stories since the last one.
Yeah, we're in the middle of one now that's about autism and clay and sort of my move to Ireland. And Lauren Slater, who I don't know if you've ever read any of her books,
No.
but Welcome to My Country, Opening Skinner's Box, Lying. She's written so many, and she's one of my favorite authors. And, you know, I don't want to say the name because she'll be very angry at me, but I can tell when she's ghostwritten something because I always give her credit because I feel as though it's like having Leonardo da Vinci do your art homework. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I'm not putting this out without putting your name and telling it. Great.
Fantastic.
Sometimes I'll be reading a memoir, supposedly written by the celebrity, and I'll call her up and go, listen, bitch, I know that you wrote this book. And
I know your voice.
She'll start to cry and say to me, you can't tell anyone. I will break the DNA. Do not, you know, whatever. Do not disclose whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I will not tell anyone, but I will meet this guy at another celebrity thing, and I will know that he took credit for your words because her writing is so distinct and so brilliant. And to tell you the truth, this book, it flew out of her. You know, we talk and then she writes and then I'm supposed to edit and change. And well, it flew out of her in a way and at a time when I was moving here and very busy. And so it really should be told to Lauren Slater.
Sure. Yeah.
Because it's so brilliant. The prose is so unbelievable that I think anyone who knows me in my writing would know that this was not done by me.
Yeah.
So if we do put it out, we're going to put it, I think, as told too.
Fantastic. Well, if it comes out, you'll come back. She'll come with you. We could all chat about that process because I think it's so fascinating. People would love to know.
Yes, I'd love to do it.
I've taken up so much of your time. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. And thank you for being so lovely. I really appreciate it. And it's been wonderful to talk to you. And I will come back anytime. If I read a great book, can I send you an email and say, hey,
please do.
Come on and talk about this book?
Jason@gaysreading.com whenever you want.
Remember.
That's the goal.
There you
All
go.
right. This is getting edited. It's getting put out tomorrow. I want the world to know about Unleashing Hope on Hulu.
Don't edit it. Put the whole thing out. Who cares?
I'll put the whole thing out. I'm so proud of you.
Oh.
I love that you have taken a journey from stand-up to this. You're doing such important work and you're inspiring. And I think it's terrific. And I'm so grateful to you.
Thank you, honey. Thank you very, very much. And I hope your parents can heal, but I know this abyss between the Trump people and the not Trump people could be the end of democracy. So know that we have to hold true to our beliefs of equality and diversity and compassion. And that's what this country's about.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Rosie, thank you so much for being here. Everyone, make sure to check out Unleashing Hope, The Power of Service Dogs for Autism with Children, streaming now on Hulu. It is such a beautiful watch. It's only 42 minutes, and it will make you think, it'll make you feel, and I highly recommend it. And I will see you next week for an all-new episode of Gaze Reading. I will see you then. Thanks, everyone. Bye.